Queen Elizabeth II was born on April 21, 1926, in London, England, and was the daughter of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, who was later known as the Queen Mother. When Elizabeth was born, she was not expected to inherit the throne, as her grandfather, King George V, her father, and her uncle, Edward, were both ahead of her in the line of succession. However, the situation changed dramatically in 1936 when King George V died and was succeeded by his eldest son, Edward VIII. Edward had a controversial reign that lasted less than a year, as he decided to abdicate the throne in order to marry Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. This abdication was a major shock to the British establishment and created a constitutional crisis, as it was unprecedented for a British monarch to voluntarily give up the throne. The decision also had a significant impact on the line of succession. Edward had no children, and therefore his younger brother, Elizabeth's father, became King George VI. As a result of her father's ascension to the throne, Elizabeth became the heir presumptive, which meant that she was next in line to the throne after her father. As a member of the royal family, Elizabeth received a privileged education, which was largely conducted at home by private tutors. Her father and mother were committed to providing her with a well-rounded education that included history, literature, languages, and the arts. During World War II, Elizabeth's education took a backseat as she became actively involved in the war effort. In 1940, at the age of 14, she made her first public speech, delivering a radio address to the children of the Commonwealth who had been evacuated from their homes due to the war. As she grew older, Elizabeth began to undertake more public duties, including visits to hospitals and factories to boost morale during the war. She also trained as a mechanic and driver in the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service, which provided essential support to the British Army. This experience gave her a unique insight into the lives of ordinary people and helped to shape her understanding of her future role as Queen. In 1947, Elizabeth married Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, whom she had met several years earlier. Philip was a naval officer and had served in the Royal Navy during World War II. The wedding was a major event, and the public rejoiced in the young couple's happiness. Over the next few years, Elizabeth and Philip began to start a family, and they had 4 children together: Prince Charles, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward. As a mother, Elizabeth was known for her dedication and devotion to her children, and she worked hard to balance her royal duties with her responsibilities as a parent. When Elizabeth's father, King George VI, passed away on February 6, 1952, she was on a royal tour of Kenya with her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. The sudden death of her father was a major shock, not just for Elizabeth, but for the entire nation. Elizabeth immediately returned to Britain, and upon her arrival, she was greeted with the news that she was now the Queen. Her official title became Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of her other realms and territories Queen, head of the Commonwealth, defender of the faith. At the time of her accession, Elizabeth was just 25 years old and had been married for 5 years. She had been aware of the responsibilities that awaited her since she was a child and had been carefully trained for her future role. Nonetheless, the suddenness of her father's death and the enormity of the task before her was a significant challenge. Her accession to the throne also marked the beginning of a new era for the British monarchy. She inherited a country that was still recovering from the devastation of World War II, and she was expected to lead the nation through a period of social and political change. Elizabeth's coronation took place on June 2, 1953, in Westminster Abbey, and was attended by thousands of people from around the world. The ceremony was a grand spectacle, and Elizabeth looked every inch the regal monarch in her coronation robes and crown. Her coronation was a significant event in British history and marked the beginning of a long and successful reign. Despite the challenges that lay ahead, Elizabeth was determined to fulfill her duties with diligence and dedication, and she remained a constant source of strength and stability for the British people. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth II was a constant presence in British and global history, serving as a symbol of continuity and tradition. Her reign was marked by numerous changes and events, including the decolonization of the British Empire, the rise of the European Union, and the fall of the Soviet Union. In the early years of her reign, Elizabeth oversaw the dissolution of the British Empire, which saw many of Britain's former colonies gain independence. The process was a challenging one, both politically and emotionally, as Britain struggled to come to terms with the loss of its colonial power. Elizabeth, however, was a steady and calming influence during this time, and her presence helped to reassure the public and to promote a sense of unity and common purpose. In the decades that followed, Elizabeth witnessed significant changes in British society, as the country underwent major social and cultural shifts. The rise of youth culture, the advent of new technologies, and the changing role of women were just some of the trends that marked this period. Elizabeth embraced these changes while also upholding the traditions and values that had defined the monarchy for centuries. In addition to her role as a symbol of continuity and stability, Elizabeth also played an active role in the political and social life of Britain. She met with numerous world leaders, including Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, Nelson Mandela, and Barack Obama, and was involved in numerous charitable and humanitarian causes, both in Britain and around the world. After the death of her husband, Prince Philip, in 2021, Elizabeth's health started to deteriorate and she was unable to attend several royal appointments. On the 8th of September, 2022, at Balmoral Castle, Scotland, Queen Elizabeth II passed away at the age of 96. Her 70-year-long reign made her the longest-serving monarch in British history. Queen Elizabeth's body was transported back to London where a huge state funeral was held, and she was interred beneath the King George VI Memorial Chapel alongside her parents and sister. Despite her long reign, Elizabeth never lost touch with the British people, and she was widely respected and admired for her dedication, dignity, and sense of duty. Her reign was marked by many challenges and triumphs, but throughout it all, she remained a constant source of inspiration and strength for the nation she served so faithfully. Thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe for more fascinating biographies.